There are two versions of the USS Hornet. One exists in grainy black and white photographs. It is a vessel of immense national pride, a steel behemoth cutting through the Pacific waves under a bright wartime sun. This is the Hornet of legend, the ship that launched the Doolittle raid and altered the course of the Second World War. Its story is one of valor, brave men facing impossible odds, a narrative etched into the granite of American memory. This ship is a symbol, passed down through generations in books, documentaries, solemn recollections of the sailors who served her. It is a story of glory. It is a story we believe we know. Then there is the other Hornet. This one lies broken and silent, nearly 17,500 feet beneath the surface of the South Pacific. It is a ghost, lit only by the cold, unforgiving lights of remotely operated vehicles. ROV cameras glide over its twisted metal, its corroded hull, the debris field that marks its final resting place. These images are not nostalgic. They are clinical, sharp, and detached. The document at the center of this storm is known as the Petrel Deep Scan. It is not a formal naval report. It originated from a private expedition funded by philanthropists searching for WWII wrecks. The team's mission was straightforward: find the Hornet document, its condition, provide a fitting modern postscript to its heroic tale. Using state-of-the-art autonomous underwater vehicles and high-resolution sonar, the team mapped the wreck with unprecedented precision. The data was meant as a gift to history, a reverent final look. That is not what happened. The Petrel Deep Scan was compiled from terabytes of raw data. It includes three-dimensional sonar models of the entire wreck and detailed mapping of the surrounding debris field. It contains thousands of high-definition photographs and hours of video footage. This was not a casual look. It was a forensic examination on a scale never before possible at such depths. Every tear in the hull, every burn mark, every piece of scattered wreckage was meticulously logged, measured, and cross-referenced. The file was meant for a select group of naval historians and archaeologists, a confidential record to be integrated into the official narrative. The circulation of the Petrel Deep Scan, even within closed circles, immediately created a deep and bitter divide. Two distinct camps formed, each entrenched in its own interpretation of the past. The schism was not just about facts, it was about the very purpose of history itself. On one side stood the guardians of the official narrative, traditional naval historians, veterans associations, institutions dedicated to preserving the heroic legacy of the United States Navy. They viewed the Hornet story as a cornerstone of American military heritage, a tale of courage that should be protected from what they saw as cynical, technology-driven revisionism. This first camp, which we can call the Legend Camp, argues for the primacy of the human record. They trust the sworn testimony of the sailors who were there. They honor the after-action reports written in the heat of the moment, documents penned by officers who watched their ship die. To them, history is a narrative built on duty, sacrifice, memory. They warn that a cold forensic analysis of a wreck cannot capture the terror-chaos bravery of battle. They fear that picking apart the official story dishonors the men who fought and died. Their position is clear. The legend is the truth that matters. On the other side is the forensic truth camp. The tension between the two camps was a closely held secret, a simmering debate confined to academic journals and closed-door naval history conferences. That changed overnight. A single, blurred screenshot appeared on an obscure military history forum. It showed a document cover page stamped in red with the words Petrel Deep Scan Analysis and Confidential Addendum. Within hours, the image went viral. It was followed by anonymous posts quoting short, provocative snippets from the report. Unexplained internal charges, damage inconsistent with recorded torpedo impacts. The secret was out. The leak transformed an academic dispute into a public firestorm. News outlets, bloggers, amateur historians seized on the story. The narrative was irresistible. a secret file, a legendary warship, and the suggestion of a cover-up. The public reaction was immediate and polarized. On one side, many reacted with outrage, viewing the leaks as a desecration of a sacred memory. Veterans groups issued statements condemning the armchair analysts who dared to question the integrity of the Hornet's crew. Section 5, the core of the dispute, what the scan suggests. To understand the conflict, one must understand what the Petrel deep scan actually claims. Its findings, when stripped of technical jargon, are direct and unsettling. The first major point of contention involves the scuttling charges. The scan identifies evidence of explosive charges. These charges are placed in highly unusual locations, deep within the ship's engineering spaces, far from where scuttling crews would typically operate. These anomalies are not definitive proof, but they raise a difficult question. The placement appears designed not just to sink the ship, but to strategically destroy specific internal sections. The forensic camp asks why. Was this part of a standard, albeit undocumented, scuttling procedure? Or was it a frantic, improvised effort to erase something? The legend camp counters, in the chaos of a sinking ship under enemy fire, crews would do whatever it took. The second key finding concerns the torpedo damage. The official narrative records a specific number of torpedo hits, from American scuttling attempts, from later Japanese attacks. The scan's three-dimensional hull model presents a damage pattern some analysts say is inconsistent. They point to areas of hull breach that do not align with the reported torpedo strike angles and locations. The metal tearing in some places suggests a different type of explosive force, not the typical signature of a standard torpedo warhead. This discrepancy has become a central battleground. At its heart, the fight over the USS Hornet is not about torpedo holes scuttling charges. It is a fundamental conflict between two opposing ideologies. It is a clash between the perceived needs of collective memory and the absolute demands of transparency. The guardians of the legend believe that certain stories serve a higher purpose. The tale of the Hornet, in its official form, is a source of national inspiration. It provides comfort to the families of those who were lost. It teaches new generations courage, sacrifice. In this view, history is a form of civic scripture, and its core tenets should be protected. This camp argues that a relentless forensic assault on such a narrative does more harm than good. What is gained, they ask, by potentially tarnishing the memory of heroes for the sake of a few technical corrections in a historical footnote? They warn that this pursuit of absolute truth is a modern obsession, one that lacks respect for the context and human element of the past. They believe that history's primary role is to bind a culture together, to provide shared myths and morals. This Cold War over the Hornet's legacy is not fought on the high seas, but in the digital trenches of the 21st century. The tactics are modern, swift, designed for public consumption. The conflict unfolds through a calculated rhythm of leaks, official statements, counter-leaks. An anonymous source close to the forensic team might leak a new provocative sonar image to a sympathetic blogger. The image shows another unexplained anomaly on the wreck, then spreads across social media, fueling speculation and pressuring the establishment. This is a guerrilla tactic to keep the story alive and force the hand of the authorities. The controversy surrounding the Hornet's sinking has cast a shadow onto its most celebrated moment, the Doolittle raid. The launching of 16 B-25 bombers from the Hornet's deck on April 18, 1942, has been portrayed as an unblemished triumph. It was the moment the United States struck back, a crucial morale boost after Pearl Harbor. The Hornet's role is the bedrock of its heroic status. Ship and raid are inseparable in the public imagination. The Petrel deep scan does not change the facts of the raid. The bombers took off. They bombed Tokyo. But new questions about the ship's final hours have led the forensic truth camp to re-examine the Hornet's narrative. The story of the USS Hornet now exists on a split screen. On one side we see the archival photograph, a proud carrier at sea, its deck crowded with men united in purpose, the symbol of a nation's resolve. The image is simple, powerful, and reassuring. It speaks of a clear moral universe, of good versus evil, of sacrifice for a noble cause. This is the Hornet that history books built, a monument, solid and unchanging. Its truth is the truth of legend, a story told to inspire. On the other side of the screen is a cold blue sonar image. It depicts a mangled ruin on an abyssal plain, surrounded by a constellation of data points and analytical markings. This image is complex, ambiguous, and unsettling. It speaks of physics, of explosive pressures, of structural mechanics. It offers not a story, but a puzzle. This is the Hornet that technology revealed, a collection of evidence waiting for a final verdict. And between these two images, a crack runs through the ship's iconic crest. That cracked crest is the Hornet's new, unstable legacy. The secret Petrel scan was meant to save a piece of history. Instead, it may be the very thing that triggers its slow collapse. By dividing the narrative, it has created a battle for control between fact and myth. A quiet war for the soul of the Hornet's legacy, where no one knows what is truly history, and the ship's final story has never been more unstable.
Please subscribe to our channel History Documentary Hub for more insightful videos and intriguing content.